Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Why did the cat want to eat a canary? It was hungry. But what is hunger in the contextual metaphor of a predator and you as his victim? To Eat a Canary by Minthe Draws and their team is a super short game. It was made for the Only One of Any Asset game jam, also known as the O2A2 game jam. It's a visual novel, fully voice acted for the non-playable character, just under 1,000 words, and it's got 2 endings. At the start, the player character has been kidnapped and wakes confined in a basement. This is where the entire story takes place. And soon after waking, you meet the only other character in the game, the kidnapper. What follows is brief but unsettling, and no matter which ending you get, it doesn't end well. Not for you, the player character, or even the kidnapper. I'll explain. The kidnapper is the cat, and you, the player character, are the canary. Everything, from the title to the imagery in the game, supports this. The user interface graphic shows a wiry, dark frame, same as the literal cage the player character wakes up in at the start. The text box applies a red gradient as if to appear stained with blood. The title with the cat skull and bird clearly implies these two parties and their roles. Black and red for darkness or shadow and blood. Yellow for light and joy. The scar on the skull's eye is the same as the scar over the kidnapper's eye. The red stripes in his hair not so dissimilar to a cat's claw marks. He even calls his victim
Songbird.
And the metaphorical canary is a specific role, since even without the cat, canaries are natural victims. The most common turn of phrase, the canary in the coal mine. If or when it dies, its death serves an early warning for the workers to leave the mine. The canary is only there as a sacrifice for the greater good. Not so great or good for the canary. This much is obvious. But there's more here, and all of it speaks to consumption, feeding, the kind of all-consuming behaviors that will tell us exactly what kind of hunger drives this particular large cat. And you know what else we call a large cat? A predator. Spoilers ahead, and given the subject matter this should also be obvious, but none of this is condoned in reality and should never be replicated. Even so, fiction can interestingly explore facets of dark and grim materials. If this sounds like something you want to check out, please do. It's very short but very good, and the link to the game is in the description. Now I'll be spoiling the game. It's a cold open, where the player character wakes up, already in a cage in some kind of basement. The kidnapper looms out of the darkness, and no matter how nice he attempts to appear, the situation speaks louder. It's not enough to keep you complacent. He extends a hand past the bars, and there are 2 options presented to demonstrate your current state, one of fear to scramble away, and one of defiance to slap him away. Either one is pitiful enough, and no matter what choice is made, his reaction is the same. A flash of rage before he finds solace in gripping the rosary around his neck. An odd item for a kidnapper and criminal to have and find comfort in, perhaps. But then he says something strange.
I hope you like it. I think it suits you. A part of me with you always.
And the player character realizes there's a similar adornment on their neck, one they can't remove, no matter how much they claw at it. The second choice is similar to the first, a plea to be released or a feeble question as to why he's doing this. Similar to the first choice, it doesn't matter which option you choose. The text even notes he gives no indication that he heard you. There's more strange things he has to say, indicating that he and the player character somehow knew each other before, and he's somehow under the impression the player character does not fear him, implying, of course, that there is in fact reason to be scared, beyond the fact he's a violent kidnapper and predator. The next choice of ineffectual questions also yields the same results as each other. The kidnapper has ignored every question put to him. In response to either "Who are you?" or "Why me?", his only reply is insane blathering about destiny, that he and the player character are made for each other. When he tries reaching in again, the player character retreats, and again his rage shows through. The text says you tripped, But the prior line was a reminder of your powerlessness. Maybe he was the one that jerked the cage. We also get another view of the basement, though briefly. In the corner, there are stairs leading up and out, but also a collection of power tools. And there's a wall of boxes, with a worrying number of names scrawled across. So many names. The predator grabs you by the throat before you can right yourself from that fall. As if his violence wasn't already apparent.
Don't.
The next choice, predictably, does not matter. Most of these so far appear to be allowing for more insight into the player character's mindset. Whether you're thinking how you must find a way out or immobilized by fear, the predator takes a lick at you before you can do anything. A literal lick, tongue and all, like any good anime villain you've ever seen. Blood and tears doesn't matter. It's all good for consumption. What does a cat care for a canary's tears anyway? In another context, another setting, another game, I might start having questions about a possible magic system, curses that afflict specific individuals with symptoms that can be alleviated by other specific individuals gifted with a particular magic. If you haven't come across espers and their guides, or a similar narrative device, count yourself lucky. That's its own rabbit hole I'm not getting into today. Regardless of his confusing statement, the predator actually backs off and begins praying, eyes closed, muttering an unknown prayer. Taking advantage of a potential way to get free, the player character says, "Let me out. We'll pray together." And, perhaps miraculously, he opens the cage and the player character gets a better look at the basement. Stopping on the power tools and various equipment, suddenly fearful that these may be used for torture. And the player character is likely not far wrong. Again, we get a good look at the wall of names. On the opposite wall, we saw the boxes labeled bolts and screws, the usual equipment to go with the hardware tools nearby. But then there's this wall on the other side that's full of names. Some are more like monikers or maybe nicknames. On one hand, we could ignore this, since it's clearly the names and handles of the various people involved in making the game. But they still made a choice to include them in this particular way, and it has implications for the kidnapper's history. Do we really think he has this many friends and he's just helpfully holding on to things for them? Right. Stored in his kidnap cage basement. I'm sure this many people would have no questions at all. No. It's obvious this isn't the first time the kidnapper has done this. And the wall of names reads like a victim's roster. If the cardboard appeared stained, it might have been even more macabre for those that came before. Even if these boxes just contain belongings, personal effects, none of them were reclaimed. It seems fair to assume that none of them made it out alive. At this point, we reach the final choice of the game. This is the only one that matters between the two possible endings, as the player character carefully considers their potential escape. It wouldn't work, or it's time to get out. If the player character determines it wouldn't work, you just give in to despair and the situation.
Pray with me.
Forced to kneel, there is no actual prayer as the predator simply seems to do as he wishes, all under the pretense of something that should be pure. The ending is fittingly called Pray.
Pray.
In the event the player character makes a break for the stairs, there is no escape to be had. The screen flashes red, and the player character is struck in the head. Blood flowing down their back. The predator has the audacity to cry, appearing distraught.
No. No.
When he's the one that cut down his captive, rather than allow an escape. Holding his dying victim, the scene fades. Mirroring the other ending, this one is called Prey, as the predator preyed on his victim. So why did he do all this?
You're just like you were back then. You don't fear me.
Aside from his selfish and insubstantial justifications,
They'll all look away. Can't look at me. Be near me. They're scared of my demons. if they meet them. But not you.
Whether there is a deeper story of cursed eyes or literal demons is irrelevant to the current circumstances. The last Chuni character I saw didn't kidnap or kill anyone. He uses flowery language to obfuscate something, but there must be a seed of truth somewhere.
We are made for each other, can't you see? From the moment you showed me your grace, I knew that we were destined to be here. Just like this.
His hunger is obsession. He is fixated on fate and destiny. His rosary, normally a marker of faith for fictional characters and their devotion or compassion, his has instead become emblematic of his fanaticism. It's difficult to believe he engages in anything without a worrying degree of zealotry. Obsession seems to saturate every facet of his being. Faith twisted to intense, uncritical cruelty. Love made mockery through violence and fear. This, too, feeds the concept tying hunger and obsession. It consumes him inside and out. His delusion further feeds his fanaticism, and every intensely vicious act that follows.
I shall be healed.
As if aware he possesses some inadequacy, he preys on others to make himself whole. If we take the many names on the various boxes as evidence for previous victims, there is a dangerous precedent for his victims and his insistence on destiny. He seeks victims for an unknown but predetermined purpose, fulfilling whatever deficiency or sickness he thinks he needs to heal. He has done this before, and it has not worked. But his fanaticism assures him this time will be different. This really is fate. This time. If a higher power dictates our every move, whatever happens, whatever he does, it's justified. Shame the player character only gets one choice that matters, with only two options, only two paths to take. How little freedom there really is for the one in the cage, and the one without. We don't actually know who this guy is. His bio on the game page doesn't even give a name. Similarly, the player character doesn't have a proper name. They don't need them. Who these characters are or where they came from is less important than what this brief glimpse into terrifying circumstances reveals about the nature of hunger as obsession. He is a husk of a person consumed by his own emptiness. That's the only obvious fuel for his fixations. Even the endings support this. Prayer distorted by delusion, faith consumed by zealotry. Prey eaten by a predator, a person consumed by another, lesser being trying desperately to be as great as what they destroy. Obsession is consumption, a selfish feeding cycle. In either ending, the little yellow bird, all of joy and cheer, ends as prey to the feline adversary and the endless emptiness of obsession. Just like when a canary is brought into a coal mine, either way its fate is already decided. Whether death comes slowly or swiftly, the player character's fate will be the same. Consumed, devoured. Obsession is consumption. It's dangerous and destructive, not based on anything substantive that can be assured or even achieved. It's an idea, a germ that grows and consumes, eating away until there's nothing left. So why did the cat want to eat a canary? It was hungry. What was his hunger? Emptiness, deficiency. His hunger is obsession, driven to consume the object of his fixation. There is a void at the core of every monster, and this one seeks to fill that void, thus becoming a predator to prey on others, as if consuming every songbird will eventually make him whole. Again, none of this is condoned in reality, but exploring these ideas and scenarios in fiction can be interesting. It may not be for everyone, but just read the warnings and know what you're in for if you do. Take care of yourself.